You know, it's cold outside, and the first thing I did this morning was wake up and think, I should make a video about how much I didn't enjoy The Secret History. Let's slander one of the internet's favorite books and post it on the internet. That sounds like a good idea. Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm not a booktuber. I just started talking or posting more often about the things that I read, and I only recently started diving back into fiction, and here's a video on all of the books that I read recently-ish on trying to get back into fiction. Now, before you run into the comments and you are freaking out on me and hounding on me for how did I not like this book, I want to preface that I'm not saying that this is a bad book. I don't think that this is a bad book at all. I just didn't personally enjoy reading it. We'll just get straight into it. I don't get the hype. I don't get it. Kind of one of the issues with like the internet's favorite books is that they're so hyped. They're so hyped. Everybody is just frothing at the mouth for all of these different popular books, whatever they are at the time. And you kind of build up this expectation of this wild ride or something that you're going to get out of these books. And they just don't hit the same for everybody, right? Like I said in the beginning, I don't think that this is a bad book. In fact, I think that there's a lot of really wonderful and genius things about this book. However, I just didn't like reading it. It just felt like a chore, and I didn't like it. The things that I didn't like about the book, I understand why they're the way they are. So Donna Tartt's style of writing in this, with her very flourishy words and the way that she almost writes in such a way so that you kind of understand where Richard is coming from, of this disconnect, of this feeling of not fully understanding what these people are talking about, feeling like you're a little bit alienated, but kind of having this imposter syndrome. She does a really good job of making you feel similar to our main character. However, I hate flourishy writing. Further, the characters, none of them I liked. I don't think that you're supposed to like any of them, but it makes it really hard for me to read a book because personally I read for character-driven books and less plot-driven. The characters were just insufferable, and she did a fantastic job at making them insufferable, and I didn't like any of them. I didn't root for any of them, and I find that very hard to continue to read a book when I don't really care what happens to the characters or how they feel. If they get upset or hurt by something, I'm not attached. I'm like, okay, you sucked anyway. The plot, I think I was the most disappointed with, because that was the reason I was reading it. And like I said, I'm more of a character-driven person when it comes to fictional books. I don't really care so much for the plot. In my opinion, I think you can have a fantastic plot, but if your characters suck, the whole story is just gone. Whereas I would continue reading a book that doesn't really have a super strong plot, but if they have really strong characters, I'm more attached to the characters, and I'm going to continue to read that book or that series, most likely just due to the characters, despite if the plot isn't that strong. That's just me. Especially with the hype, it made it seem like it's this wild ride and that it's this huge, I guess, reveal, or there's this huge climax, and there's not. It's just a lot of build and a lot of build, and you, oh my God, halfway through, it was so hard for me not to DNF this book because it was just bland and boring, and they just kept talking and wallowing, and I just didn't like it. I wanted to set it down so bad, but this was one of the very few books that I didn't like that I actually finished, because I just wanted to know why the internet was so obsessed. And I was like, okay, maybe if I get through this piece, it suddenly turns, and that's the part that's like, oh, you think you don't like this book, and then all of a sudden you do. No. Anticlimactic, like incredibly. And I didn't have fun reading it. Like, at no point was I reading this book and I was enjoying myself. All that being said, Would I read this book again? Hell no. Would I recommend this book? Hell no. However, I understand from a literary standpoint why this book is so popular, because the way that she writes it and the way that it does make you feel, and the thing that she points out about academic settings and academia and almost like the aesthetic of it. And I understand that this is like the book that set up dark academia and that everybody just latched their teeth into, and that's their personality. And dark academia, I get it. I get the aesthetic. The commentary that she had on academia and the culture around that and the pretentiousness and the privilege, I think is fantastic. I think she is an incredible writer in such a sense that she doesn't, it's not on the nose. Like, she makes you feel and think these things without spoon feeding it to you. You kind of have to realize that you're already having that experience that she's commenting on throughout the whole entire book. If a writer can do that, they are incredibly talented and skilled. This just felt like a book that you would have to read in school, you know? Like, I really liked Brave New World, but I didn't enjoy reading it. Like, the concept of the book is incredible and one of my favorite plots, and I really liked the characters. But reading the book itself wasn't fun. It wasn't a fun read to like sit down and open the book and read it. But like, it's the concept. So I think it's one of those books. I think I was also just disappointed because I'm not really even like much of a murder mystery type of reader. I don't really care for crime novels or murder novel type of things. I think most of them are, you know, the same story, give or take. And that's not really a spoiler, being that you learn that one of the characters is dead on the first page. I'm trying not to put too many spoilers because I'm not trying to tell people not to read this book. I do think that there's value in it. I just personally didn't like it. And I personally I still just do not get the 5-star hype all over the internet. I was seeing people being like, this is my favorite autumn read. I read it every single year. And I'm like, okay, I'm missing out on something. And then I read it and I was like, I'm not. I don't feel like I missed out on anything. Yeah, I think the writing style and the way that the book is set up, I think it's fantastic. And it's definitely something I can totally see, and I mean, it kind of already is, becoming like a modern classic. Like, it's one of those books that if people consider themselves a fiction reader, everybody's read this book, right? It almost feels like a rite of passage at this point. This is not a special book to me in any sense, so I'm not really sure why people are on this book as a ride or die. I think it was the characters that I just didn't care for. I think it was the anticlimactic plot. I think it was the intentional way that she wrote this to kind of alienate the reader, so that you feel alienated just as Richard does, and just as strong of an imposter syndrome. But again, genius writing, being that she can do that. Doesn't mean I enjoyed it. Okay, that's enough slander. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this book to people. I'm not saying don't read it. I'm not saying that you need to stay away from this book whatsoever, but it's just one of those books that I just don't get why people like it so much. Same thing with Fourth Wing. I enjoyed it, actually. But that's the thing is, okay, before I close this off, I kind of want to compare it to Fourth Wing. And I reviewed a little bit of it in that other book fiction haul thing, which the link is in that little, if you click on this little icon, it should come down and you can click on the video. Anyway, Fourth Wing, the actual reading of it, when I was reading the book, I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to just open the book and read. But overall, it's not anything groundbreaking. It wasn't that I'm dying to hand people to read. It's not anything that I haven't read before. These are all characters that are all very tropey. The whole book is very tropey. But overall, the actual act of reading it was a lot of fun. Where it was the opposite with this book of like looking at it now, I'm kind of like, okay, I get like overall the commentary and from a like a literary standpoint, I can totally understand why people like aspects of this book, but I don't get why people are frothing at the mouth with this book. Then on the flip side, Fourth Wing was like fun to read, but like overall, I'm not really sure why people are frothing at the mouth, because it's all very tropey. And maybe it's because it's tropey that people are really enjoying it. I don't know. To be fair, the reason I'm not really a fiction reader is because I'm so incredibly critical of all of these things, and I don't know why, and I'm trying to get a little less that way, but you know. That being said, I enjoyed Fourth Wing as almost kind of like a trash TV show. I don't know. It's just like, I just like watching these tropey, very predictable, very repetitive shows. Like Supernatural. Love that show. Am I going to argue that it's good? No. But I do love Supernatural. This is one of those like art films. Like one of those Sundance films, you know, that you watch and you're like, I didn't like watching that. At no point was I enjoying myself watching this film, but I get it. I don't know. I don't have like strong opinions on this book. I just don't get why everybody's frothing at the mouth. However, I am totally open to, if you want to comment down below and give me your case of why you loved this book so much. Obviously, I'm not attacking anybody who likes this book. You can like what you like. This is just my own opinion. So if you would like to give me reasonings on why you loved this book so much, or maybe you did enjoy the actual act of reading this book, tell me why, because I like different perspectives. I like to, understand things from a different point of view. So please let me know. Just don't be a dick. Just basic respect. But that's my secret history slander. Hope you enjoyed or hated it. I don't know. Let me know. Also, I'm coming out with a reading vlog soon because that was highly requested. So we're going to see how that goes. I have no idea how I'm structuring that. We're figuring that out. But stay tuned for that. And otherwise, I will see you in the next one. As always, best of luck and be kind to each other. May your gods treat you as you've treated others. Bye.